friends, it's Miss Terri, and this summer we're going to Rome with Paul. Remember last week I told you about Paul and how he wrote a really long letter to the people in Rome. So this week I thought I'd show you some things about Paul and about Rome. On the left you see a picture that is a mosaic. It's made of tiny little pieces of glass, and this is what people thought Paul might have looked like. On the right, you see a map. And you know that maps help us get from place to place. Here it shows where Paul started, and here's the route that Paul took. And you can see he had to go on a boat, and he had a shipwreck, and he went up to Rome. So Paul traveled a long, long way. This also is important because Paul, in his letter to the Romans in chapter 6 that we're going to talk about this week, talks a little bit about how Paul told people that God is always with us, and that even when we get lost and when we sin and when we do things that are wrong, that God is with us and leads us back home. I'm sure when you've taken a trip before, you've gotten lost, and maybe you've had to find your way back home. And Paul wants us to know that God is our way back home and Jesus is our way to God. Here's a picture of some ancient Roman buildings. These were built a long time ago. You can see arches and windows. Here is a colosseum. A colosseum was kind of like a stadium in Rome where they had sports events and large gatherings. Again, you see arches or curved openings. The Romans were well known for this. And Paul would have seen some of these buildings when he finally did get to Rome. But remember, he wrote his letter before he ever got there. Here's another Roman place that you might see. You can see that they have gardens and pillars. And if you look carefully at our worship space, when you see Pastor Joel and Pastor Caitlan, you'll see some pillars and some plants showing you that we're in Rome when we're at church. This is what Roman money looked like, and this is a picture of one of the Roman rulers that was on the money. Paul talks to people about how we have payment for what we do and how God pays us in grace. God doesn't pay us with money. Here's what Roman people might have looked like long ago and their clothing and what they wore. Here's another painting of what Paul might have looked like, teaching the people. Paul taught people about Jesus on his journeys, and he wrote many letters to help people follow Jesus' ways and build the church. Here's what one of Paul's letters might have looked like. Doesn't look like the letters we write, does it? Maybe you see some letters you know. And Paul had a message for us in this 6th chapter that we're talking about. Paul said that even though we do bad things, if we did bad things all the time, we would die. But because of God, we live forever because of Jesus loving us, God loving us, and forgiving us. So that even when we make mistakes, it's okay because God loves us.